What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Kenny Tunison here, and today's video is going to be a very good one. All right, lots of great information that I'm going to touch on regarding diet. All right, specifically how I've been cutting my body fat percentage pretty gradually while also maintaining most of my muscle. Okay, so about a month and a half ago, I was at 15, maybe touching 16% body fat. And now I am at between 9 and 10%. All right, so I was 206 pounds and now I'm 190. And again, as I said before, I've maintained most of my muscle. Okay, my arms were a little over 17 inches both, and right now, 16 pounds lighter, they're still 17 inches. So I haven't lost much size at all. Okay, my waist has shrunken down from 35 inches. You guys remember that bloated measurement I took when I was 206 pounds of 35 inch, and now it's under 32, okay, almost 31, which is my end goal for this cut. But you guys don't really care about that. You want to know how I did it. So let's get right into it. Now, the first thing I'm going to cover is going to be a low carb day, okay, a typical low carb day for me. And my low carb days are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, okay? I'm not trying to hit a specific number of carbs, but I do like it to be under about 200 grams. And I stay away from pretty much any complex carbohydrates on these days. And I focus primarily on getting my carbs from things like fruit. So meal number one is going to be at around 6:45 to 7 o'clock in the morning, right before I head into work. And that's just going to be 4 fried eggs cooked with grass-fed butter. All right, nice and light, nice and simple. I don't like eating a lot of food before probably 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm just not really a hungry person in the morning. I'm not a morning eater, but having 4 eggs like this is a great way to get high quality protein in. This is 24 grams of protein right here, right? 4 eggs, and it's only like 280 calories, all right? So not filling me up at all, not making me bloated. It's no carbs. It feels great. And again, it's a great way for me to get in some protein before I head off into work. Alrighty, meal number 2, and I also prepare this in the morning before I head into work. I use something called a hydro flask to keep this warm, and it's just going to be 8 ounces of 90-10 grass-fed ground beef. And the only other thing that I have with the ground beef is going to be raw, sharp cheddar cheese. This is just a personal favorite of mine. I love cheese, but I don't really like eating pasteurized cheese because it kind of bloats my stomach up, and I just have a hard time digesting it. Having the raw cheddar, or raw any type of cheese, you can just have raw regular cheddar, doesn't have to be sharp. For some reason, my body digests it much, much better. And again, this is another food that is no carb, all right? And it's also high in protein, okay? Lots of good vitamins in there. Very, very good for you. This meal is had at about, I would say, between 9:30 and 10:30 a.m. in the morning, depending on what time we stop at work for our first break. Now, as for lunchtime, this is had between 1:30 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the second and final break that we take at work, lunch break also known as. This is when I have my shake, and my shake consists of frozen organic mango, 1 organic banana. It doesn't really matter if it's medium or large, whatever the grocery store has, I just pick that up. Make sure it's organic, all right, so you don't get those synthetic pesticides, okay? Organic fruits, they also use pesticides, but they are natural pesticides. That's the main difference there. And the liquid I use for this is going to be 10 ounces of freshly squeezed organic orange juice, cold pressed. It's by this company right here I'm showing. It's great stuff. It's my favorite type of orange juice. Ever since I started drinking this orange juice, I've never gone back to Tropicana or any of those other brands, right? This is like my favorite one right here. So huge shout out to them. Now, the only supplement I do take, and you guys see me putting it in The blender right here is going to be grass-fed beef gelatin. This has a bunch of amino acids in it, and it's 6 grams of protein. That's the only supplement I take. Throw a tablespoon of that in the blender, and then I'm cracking 3 raw eggs as well into the blender. You know, I might get some hate for that, but so be it. Crack those in there. This is a 24-gram protein shake, and it's high carb, okay? But all the carbs are from organic fruit, and that's exactly what I like doing on my low carb days. So I'll have this for lunch, all right? I'll drink that up. It's very refreshing, and it tastes amazing, all right? If you haven't tried something like this, definitely give it a go. It tastes amazing. But I also have one of these little boxes of organic raisins. Reason being is that raisins, along with carrot juice, help the pigmentation of your skin. And I also just love raisins, all right? So there you go there, just a little box of raisins. And this is also going to be just a strictly sugar carbohydrate source, a simple carbohydrate source, about 20 or 22 carbs here. Forgot what the box said. But this meal right here is about 100 grams of carbs. So high carb meal, not very high in protein, but I'm getting a lot of protein from my other meals throughout the day. Okay, now when I get home from work, it's about 5:30 p.m. Every once in a while I'll get home at like 6 p.m. just from, you know, late day, running late on things. But I always have 4 more fried eggs and a small glass of 100% carrot juice, and I think the company puts like 100% lemon juice in there as well, and it just tastes great. All right, this is another thing, like I said before, helps with the pigmentation of your skin. Me being a very, very pale person, all right, I struggle to get really any color anywhere besides my forearms and my face and all that. So trying to try that out, right? Trying to change the pigmentation just a little bit. Also getting sun on most of the days, right? Trying to get sunlight, but it's been hard lately with all the rain we're getting. But that is the 4th meal of the day. 4 eggs, 24 more grams of protein, and just this small glass of carrot juice, which is about 20 grams of carbs. Okay, about 20 to 30 minutes after I have that meal, I work out, all right? And I don't drink anything besides water when I work out. I don't have an intra-workout shake. I don't have pre-workout before, no supplements whatsoever. I work out 20 to 30 minutes after that meal I just talked about. And then right after my workout, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours, including the half hour of cardio I do after whatever lift I'm doing, is going to be a small glass of that same orange juice I use for the shake for the second meal of the day. You might be asking, why not have protein after the workout? And it's funny because it's actually way better to have something that is high in glycogen or something that has a high glycemic index after your workout instead of something like a protein shake. And reason being is your muscles are just stripped from pretty much everything, right? You're gone, right? You just worked out, all right? You trained very hard like you should have been doing, and your body kind of needs some it basically needs a form of simple carbohydrates, and this is my favorite way of doing that, just a small glass of organic orange juice. Okay, then I'll take a shower or something, and then I'll have dinner. And dinner is, I'm not really going to talk about this too much because for dinner, I basically just have whatever my mom cooked for dinner. All right, so Mondays, we usually always do Meatball Monday. She just cooks up more ground beef. She makes her homemade tomato sauce. It's phenomenal, but Monday's also my low carb day. So I won't be having any of the rice that she makes, and also I won't be having any of the bread that she makes. So I'm just having the meatballs. I usually have about 10 to 12 meatballs with a lot of the sauce, and I'll put some more raw sharp cheddar on top of those meatballs. Something else that my mom always makes with pretty much every single dinner that she cooks is she just cuts up an organic cucumber. So I'll have a few of those. That's not really any calories to talk about that are worth mentioning, but I thought I'd just throw it in there. But that is a typical low carb day. Now you might be asking, what other types of meals does my mom cook? Everything is homemade. All right, so she'll do the meatballs. She'll also do chicken pesto. She'll do chicken marsala. And if any of those meals fall on a low carb day, I'm not going to have any of the white rice or any bread. But if they happen to fall on a high carb day, which is Wednesdays and Sundays, obviously I'm going to add the white rice into that meal. Now, as for high carb days, these are Wednesdays and Sundays. Now, Sunday is a lot different than Wednesday high carb day. Reason being, I don't work on Sundays, so I'm kind of just hanging out, okay? Wednesdays I do work. So what am I doing to get those extra 200 grams of carbs in? Well, it's very simple. So on my low carb day, I told you I was having the shake that I make for my lunch, pretty much my third meal of the day, that 2 p.m. meal. I'm having the shake on the low carb days. On the high carb days, I switch the second meal and the third meal. So the shake becomes breakfast, or second breakfast, I guess you can call it, because I'm still having the eggs before I go into work on my high carb days. I'll have the eggs. Then at 9:30 a.m., 10 a.m., I'm gonna have that same shake I made earlier. And then for lunch, I'm gonna have 8 ounces of ground beef again, but instead of having the raw sharp cheddar, I'm adding in half a cup of white rice. And half a cup of white rice is 70 grams of carbs. So bam, all right? If you ever want to get more carbs in a meal, white rice I think is the way to go. Either that or a potato or a sweet potato. A lot of carbs there. And this is a complex carb, but I like having complex carbs on my high carb days. And the only two I really use are sweet potato or white rice. I'm still having those 4 eggs when I get home from work, still having that glass of carrot juice, but to get some more carbs in, I might have a cup of hot tea with some raw honey during my workout. Of course, this is just on Wednesdays. I'll go over Sundays in a few moments, but I'll have that during my workout, or I'll make an intra-workout kind of like homemade Gatorade. This is something I got from Steve Reeves' book, Building the Classic Physique the Natural Way. And it's just a little bit of lemon juice, raw honey, and the rest of it's water. All right, so just do that. Easy way to get some carbs in from the honey. Honey's very high in carbs, so it's just sugar. All right, so that's another easy way to get carbs in. Easy way to get a simple carbohydrate source in. And for dinner, it's the same story as lunch. I'll just add in half a cup, maybe a little more, of white rice. And there you go. That's like 150 to 200 extra grams of carbs on the high carb days, putting me at close to 400 grams of carbs, maybe 350 grams on those days. Now, as for Sunday, Sunday is very different, all right? I have church at 10, and then the rest of the day, I'm kind of just hanging out, all right? I might make a YouTube video, might not, depends how I feel. But I'm still having 5 eggs now instead of 4. I have 5 eggs in the morning before I go to church around 8 o'clock. And when I get home from church, it's about 12 o'clock, and my mom cooks homemade French toast. We use a very high quality bread. It only has 3 ingredients. It's like wheat flour, yeast, and salt. That's basically all there is in it. It's a great bread. I'll show it right here. And she makes it in eggs, cinnamon, and then we use real organic 100% maple syrup. Put that on it. She'll also make some bacon, and I'll have that. All right, that's meal number 2 on Sundays. And then a few hours later, I usually have some ground beef and usually some rice just to get some more carbs in. And then when dinner comes around, it's, again, whatever my mom's cooking, or if my mom and dad go out, me and my brother will cook something. If that's the case, it's just beef and eggs and rice again. All right, so very simple. We're not picky eaters. We'll just eat the same thing over and over again. But if my mom's cooking, whatever she has with the white jasmine rice, and that is going to be the other high carb day. And then once Monday comes back, it's back to low carb days. Now, by carb cycling, you're increasing your metabolic flexibility, okay? Your body gets used to doing the same things over and over again. So if you're just eating the same amount of, let's say, carbs every single day, your body's gonna get used to that, okay? Now, there are a few ways of going about this. You know, I'm not a big complex carbohydrate guy. That's why I only have them on Wednesdays and Sundays, because I have found that they make me quite bloated, all right, especially around the waist if I'm having them every single day. Now, for the other side of the argument, there are a lot of people that like doing things like keto or carnivore, and I don't mind these diets, but these are extreme diets. Let's not forget that. And they're meant for certain types of people that are trying to lose excessive amounts of weight. And if you're very athletic, I would not recommend like extremely low carb diets like this. You're gonna crash and burn. Trust me, I've been there. I've tried it before. If you're very athletic, you need to have carbs. And these high carb days, they're going to help replenish those glycogen stores and just improve your workouts, all right? Your athletic performance, recovery, I mean, you name it, all right? If you're very athletic like I am, you're gonna need these high carb days. Now, of course, if I'm not cutting, right, I'm not really gonna be focusing on carb cycling, all right? If I'm in the gaining stage, trying to gain muscle, I'm not gonna get fat, right? I'm not gonna do like this big, heavy bulk, but I'm not gonna worry about high carb, low carb days, okay? I'm gonna be getting more fruit in, more protein, you know, maybe I'll have more complex carbohydrates. Maybe that'll be something I experiment with in the future, but we'll see. This video was meant for those who are trying to cut down their body fat percentage, and I hope it helped, all right? Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask in the comments, and as always, God bless.